Hello, we're here today to learn how to make some sourdough, or at least I'll try to teach you how to make some sourdough. Big disclaimer, I'm not a baker, I'm not a cook, I'm really nothing, I'm just in quarantine like everyone else. And because I had extra time on my hands, I researched how to make bread. This is actually my third batch of bread I'm never gonna make or have made. So it's really turned out really well, and it's a really simple recipe, anyone can do it, especially if I can, anyone can. So I'm gonna have enough ingredients for 2 loaves. So over here we'll show you what we're doing. You're gonna need 800 grams of flour. This is all white flour, but you could use a mix of white, whole wheat, whatever you want. I've done a mixture and it comes out really good actually. So we have 800 grams of flour. I'm putting in 460 milliliters of ambient temperature water. Throw that in there. And then I am throwing about 12 grams of salt. And sorry I'm talking metric here, but it's just more exact, I guess. Easier for me to follow. So I'll stir all this up, get this just stirred up. And we're gonna need to add one more, obviously, key ingredient, which is the sourdough starter. Which I have right here, actually. And for that, we're gonna need 320 grams of starter. Now the starter I actually made myself. It takes about a week to get it going. And then it kind of never goes away because you just use some of it, leave some in the jar, you feed it some more flour, and you can keep on using it. So let me set the scale to 0, and we'll put the 320 grams in there. And then we'll just keep on stirring. So as you can see, it looks kind of like pancake batter. It's just flour and water, and it just kind of, the yeast naturally forms from the air. I know, it's a weird concept, I don't get it, but it works. So I'm almost at 300 now. 316, just a little bit more. Almost finished my whole starter. I have to feed that boy tonight. A little bit more. All right. Went over a bit, but that should be fine. So we have all that in there. Now we're just going to keep stirring till it generates somewhat of a consistent batch. Once we have that, what I'm going to do is put it in the KitchenAid blender with that dough hook, and we're just going to need that for about 5 to 10 minutes to get the consistency of the dough. Okay, so I've been mixing the batch here for a few minutes. Got it almost ready to go. As you can see, it doesn't have to be perfect, just enough to make sure it's just together and kind of ready to go here in the mixing bowl. Just get all the little bits and pieces that are left. I have the KitchenAid there ready with the dough hook. And actually you can do this by hand, but I tried to do the kneading by hand and it took about 10-15 minutes. I didn't really get very far. So I started using the blender and it's actually worked pretty well. So simple process. I like to do it on number 1. I guess you could go up to 2 or more if you like, but just nice and slow. The dough kind of keeps moving around the hook. And eventually I just kind of take a look at it, and if it's kind of globbing on one side or something, I'll just stop it and reshape it and then put it back in again. Okay, so we're about 5 minutes in. I just turned the blender off and it was still a little bit too sticky. I'll kind of show you what I mean. So that's why I was giving it a little bit more time. So this is when I typically just take it off the hook and just, reconstitute everything down at the bottom. But you see, it's a little bit too sticky still. So, some people go ahead and add more flour and stuff. That just makes it a lot more dense as a bread. Just keep on kneading it and it should get there in a few more minutes. So I'll give it another 5 minutes and see how it looks. All right, so we've been kneading for about 10 minutes now. And again, this isn't exact science. Depends on temperature, type of dough, etc. How long you're gonna need to do this. So we're about 10 minutes in. This is actually the longest I've ever done, but it's basically the first time that I've done 2 loaves, or the equivalent of 2 loaves. So that's why it's going to take a little bit longer to do things, I guess. But I kind of figured out once you're going to do this, might as well just do 2 loaves. It's just about the same amount of work. So let me turn this off, and we will put it on the bench, on the table here, and knead it a little bit more just to kind of do it by hand for a bit. It's a little bit sticky, I think, still. So I think the additional kneading by hand is going to actually be very favorable for this. Okay, so I got that out. I sprinkled a little bit of flour on the table. You don't want to really add a lot of flour because that's not the idea. You don't want it to. You want it to be airy. If you add more flour, it's just going to get more gooey. So I'll dump this on the table. It's already has a nice silky consistency, so I think we're pretty close. Just gonna knead a little bit by hand just to finish it up. Okay, so we use the machine for 10 minutes. Now I put it on the table. I sprinkled a little bit of flour just so it doesn't stick. And I got this little thing, which this I had from my griddle when I griddle stuff outside. So essentially you just gotta keep kneading it by hand now. It is a little bit stickier than it should. And that stickiness goes away the more you massage it. So I'll be doing this for a few minutes and I'll get back to you when I'm done. All right, so we've been kneading it for a little while longer than what I'm normally used to doing. Again, it's probably because of a double batch or because I changed the flour, not really sure. But it's almost ready. As you can see, it's sticking to the table, but it's still light enough and loose enough. So what I need to do now is try to make a ball out of this. Okay, so we'll leave it in the bowl for 3 hours for it to prove. It's very simple, just throw it in there. It'll kind of grab the shape of the bowl. And we will now cover it with saran wrap or plastic wrap, whatever. And just let it sit for 3 hours. And then we'll go to the next step after that. Okay, while we wait the 3 hours for the dough to sit and prove, I'm gonna talk about the starter. I forgot to talk about that. So a starter is essentially wheat and water and the bacteria in the air. So this, you know how you hear families have 100-year-old yeast and all that? Well, this yeast is actually, it's a quarantine yeast, so it's probably about 2 weeks, maybe 3. It's working out okay. Usually takes about a week to get it going, and then you just keep using it and feeding it, and you never really run out. So to start this, basically grab a mason jar, or any other jar for that matter. Put 1 cup of flour, and then put about 1 cup of water, hopefully dechlorinated, so let it sit out for a while, boil it, and then cool it. You put it in here, put a little top on it, so it's just paper towel. Don't use toilet paper because you really can't find it anymore in the stores, but paper towels you can. So still, hopefully. Just put a little elastic on it, let it sit for a day. Tomorrow you come back, you put another half a cup of flour with another half a cup of water. And you kind of do that for a week. And what you're going to see later on is bubbles forming in there. If you really get it active after about 2 or 3 days, it's going to really start climbing up the jar, and it gets really, really active. Sometimes it's very active, sometimes it's not. It really depends on what type of flour you put in, but for the most part, you always see the bubbles, so something's happening in there, still alive. In a week, you're probably going to overflow your jar. So a lot of people just discard it and kind of replace it with fresh flour. We've kind of just been inventing stuff. We make pancakes, we make little cookies, crackers, whatever. It tastes pretty good. It's very soury, surprisingly, after about 3 days. But that's pretty much it. After a week you got this, keep using it, keep feeding it, and you'll have sourdough forever. And hopefully I can pass this down from generation to generation as well. All right, hello everyone. Welcome back. It's been about 3 hours since we let the dough sit. As you can see, it's grown about 2 or 3 times its size. Apologies for the camera angle, but my cameraman from earlier today has decided to do other things, so I'm kind of on my own now here in the kitchen. So I'm basically going to remove the dough ball from the bowl, put it back on the table. There's a little bit of dusted flour there just to make sure it doesn't stick too bad. What we're going to do is just knead it a little bit more. As you can see, got a great texture, great consistency. Basically what we're doing is just taking out all the air bubbles that were generated during the 3-hour knead. Or sorry, not knead, the 3-hour proving. So we kind of bring it back to its normal form. Just give it a few minutes to play around with it. And what I'm going to do is essentially split it in two. I've got my bowls already set up. I don't know if you can see, that's one kind of rectangular. It's a Pyrex with a top. And this is a round one, which I'm going to improvise a top here. And the reason I need a top is because when we cook it tomorrow morning, when we bake them, you need, typically I believe bakers have steam ovens. And since we don't, we kind of create a little steam chamber with the hood of the Pyrex. So I'm almost done with this. You can see it's trying to make a nice ball out of it. So I can actually go ahead and cut it. I got my little tool here. I'm basically trying to cut it about halfway, 2 equal parts. I will set one of these balls aside, and I will try to make this one into a nice ball, so I can put it inside my mold. Now typically you would need to let it sit for about another 3 hours, but the good thing about this, based on what I've learned, is that you can actually put it in the fridge, leave it there till tomorrow morning, and that's kind of been my routine. I wake up in the morning, turn the oven on, and then kind of bake it in the morning. We have some nice breakfast bread. So one of these is done. Put that right in there. Now what I've done, I'll do the second one first and I'll show you. This one's just a little more stickier, so let's press it around for a little bit. All right, so that's pretty much as close to a ball as I'm gonna get. I'm tired, it's been a long day. So we'll just get this, put it in the second receptacle. Okay, so this is what it looks like. I have one here. I dusted a little bit of flour on the cloth just so it doesn't stick. I'll just kind of fold these in, and I will put a top on it just like that. My second one, kind of the same thing. I'll just fold it over. Sorry, I'm filming and doing it at the same time. Then I'll put the top on this. Now, typically, you can wait another 3 hours and bake it right away, but since it's almost 10 o'clock at night, I am just going to put these in the fridge, and tomorrow morning when I wake up, I will set the oven. Okay, so it's been about 12 hours, time to get the bowls out of the fridge. Here is number one, and here is number two. All right, good morning again, and happy Sunday. We're in day 25, 31, 21, quarantine. I don't know. I think it's 21. Losing track here. Anyway, I got the things out of the refrigerator. They've been sitting for about 12 hours. So now it's time to put them in their mold and get ready to bake them. So when you remove the cloth, you're gonna find that probably should have taken somewhat the shape of the mold. What we're going to do is just transfer this over to the round Pyrex that will just allow us to bake it. Now, what I was talking about yesterday, I don't have a baker's oven that allegedly has steam. I really don't know that, I just heard about that. So what we do, we kind of create our own little steam chamber by baking them with a top like this. So that's one. Oh wait, I forgot something. Let me do two, and then we'll have to do the squirt change, which is very important. So this top actually has one of those little dinghies, which is okay in the oven because it goes in between the grates. But I'm just using this board to keep it a little steady while I dump it on there. This part's really important to help it grow while it's in the oven because it will still expand for a few minutes. Basically, we need to scorch it, and that will allow it to break the surface. So essentially, just grab a sharp knife or a razor. I got this little skinning knife, and just cut through the top. And this one, I'm going to do a square or a rectangle, I guess. And this one is ready to go. On this other one, I'm just going to do a big X across the top. I haven't tried an X yet. We'll see how that bakes out. Now this next step is fully optional. We wanted to try it out with a little bit of sea salt. So put a little bit of sea salt inside the cracks. Again, this is totally optional, and we want to try a little bit of Parmesan. The good thing about this, you can invent things, add things, use different types of wheat, etc. All right, we should be ready to go. Let me put the lids on, and I'll wait till the oven preheats to 450, and we'll put them in there as planned. Okay, so the oven is getting up to heat 450, so I want to do another disclaimer. Like I mentioned, I'm not a baker, I'm not a cook. I'm just a normal guy. I have a pretty normal office job. But in quarantine times, we were actually running out of bread, and I decided to try and make some. So I saw some YouTube videos, put a couple of the recipes and ideas together, and that's what I came up with. This is actually my third batch ever, and the two were really spectacular. And my wife posted these on her Facebook or what have you, and people want to know how to do it. So that's why I'm doing this. Hope you like it, and hope you make yours, and please post your pictures if you do make one. It'd be kind of cool to see that. All right, so the oven hit 450. Time to put the doughs in the oven. There's number one. Here's number two. So what we're gonna do is heat to 350. I'm sorry. Cook for 35 minutes with the tops on, and then we'll come back up to that and see what we do. Okay, so we're about 35 minutes in. Time to take the tops off. And as you can see, the bread is already taking its final form. And now we just take the tops off and use. So I'm going to put for another 15 minutes, but this is where, depending on your oven, you have to take a look at it. Essentially, when you see the crust is the way you like it, that means it's ready. Okay, so the breads have been in here for a total of 50 minutes, and we're going to get them out. Look how nice they look. You can
simply delicious.
The Parmesan cheese, a little bit burnt on the top. We're just going to remove these. They should come off pretty easily off the molds. Okay, so we'll just take these off the mold. And there they are, two beautiful loaves. Now, this is where the hard part comes in. You actually have to wait. You have to wait for them to cool down, to let the dough continue to cook somewhat and give the right consistency inside. And that's been really hard because in about 10 minutes, the kids will come down and want to start taking chunks out of it, which we do. No big deal, but it does better. It does better when it gets a little bit cold. So I'll just cover these up with with just a cloth to keep a little bit of the moisture in. But you can see we have a nice hard crust. You can hear the crunch. Perfect. So that was it. Hopefully this works out as easily for you as it did for me. If it does, just post your pictures if you want to see them, especially now in times of quarantine. Take care, everyone. Stay safe.